Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in to this special episode of Real Talk Fishing. We're going to go over and talk to Walleye Pro, Bass Pro, coming off his first Bassmaster Classic tournament. That's right, Mr. Josh Wiesner is going to tell us all about the Classic. I was down there. I got to watch it. It was awesome. He represented the walleye guys. We had a few of them out there in the bass world making waves, helping out the walleye world get a little love. So, you got to definitely want to hear from Josh, what he was doing, how the experience was, how he got there. We're going to break all that down in this one with Josh Wiesner. We're going to talk about boats because he owns a boat dock as well. So just take one quick second, hit that subscribe button down below if you all haven't. Share this with your friends. Follow along us on YouTube. Head over to the Walleye Guys Facebook page as well and like it and share it. Let's get the word out there and let's show Josh Wiesner a little love as he tells us about his first Bassmaster Classic. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning into this special edition of the Real Talk Fishing Podcast. We've been covering a lot of walleye things and talking to walleye pros, and we're still going to talk to another walleye pro, but we're going to break this one down a little different and go a little bass because we got Mr. Josh Wiesner with us today, just coming off his first Bassmaster Classic appearance. So, Josh, we got a lot to talk about there. I'm sure you got a ton of stuff. I was there. It was cool. Before we dive into that thing, because we're going to spend most of this time, I'm pretty sure, talking about the Classic because I got all sorts of questions. But for those just new, we're growing this sport of walleye and bass fishing. Let people just share a little background about Josh, how you got into the professional angling thing, what you do when you're not fishing, which is very seldom. But today, for instance, you're not fishing. So
No, it's working for a while here. So I got kind of a crazy deal. I got in the marine business a long time ago, and I went to actually college for it after I realized what I wanted to do when I was a kid, when I was 19 or 20, and got into that, worked at a dealership, and eventually ended up going to Mercury Marine before starting my own dealership. And I started fishing tournaments. I fished my whole life, but I started fishing tournaments when I was at this dealership in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and seeing guys, I was working on their boats and they'd come in and tell stories and stuff. And I just started fishing more and more and more, because they motivated me to go fishing more, and started getting more competitive. And the next thing you know, I'm jumping in tournaments and was doing really well, and that's what gets you hooked is success, right? Or failure too, but you can only fail so many times before you just give up and see. We happened to get, my brother and I jumped in Walleye Weekend or Mercury Nationals, whatever you call it, but that was our first big one, and we ended up taking like fifth or sixth, and we were jacked up, and I was like, well, this is so easy. Well, it's not. So, but that was just a motivation to keep the dream going, and but I had a lot of work to do. I was young and I didn't have, I started with a small boat, and you just gradually get bigger and bigger and bigger until you got, now I get a new boat every year, so it's awesome, but that's kind of how I started out, and that was all walleye stuff. So I fished walleyes for, I mean, I still did. This is the first year that I'm not fishing walleye since I've been 20 years old. So I made a lot of money in the walleye tournaments, more local, stuff than anything. But I went to, after the dealership, I went to Mercury Marine. I worked in the technical service department, basically talk on the phone with every Mercury customer, or Mercury dealer, I should say, in the United States. So if they had a problem, they'd call me and I'd walk them through diagnosing the issue, and get them parts if they needed, whatever we had to do. And when I went to Mercury, I realized that, hey, I actually want to own my own business. And I was finally able to do that. I think in 2000 and boy, this is going to go back. I think 2004, I bought land on Highway 41 down by Lamira, and had that intention of, and it was just a farm field, but I had that intention of starting my own business. And I think I left Mercury in the spring of 2007 and started building in 2006, the dealership, and we're still going today. So I left Mercury, took a huge gamble, and didn't have a penny left to my name. Um, my parents weren't rich or any, I got no money from anybody. It was all me, and stuck it all on the line. And, here I sit today, and I got a full crew of guys, and I'm able to go fishing if I want. And it's pretty nice. It wasn't nice for a long time. Like I worked a lot of 100+ hour weeks, and I'm done with that though. Now I just, I fish 100-hour weeks. It feels like, and 40. So it's crazy, but finally to that point where I can start enjoying more things. And my wife actually still works for Mercury. My dad retired from Mercury. My grandpa retired from Mercury. My great uncle retired from Mercury. Like we're definitely a bleeding black family.
Yes,
So,
you are. Hey, the hard work has paid off, and you're living proof of it. So just
yeah,
not in the business, but in the fishing side of it as well. I mean, you got sucked in like so many other stories that they fished their first tournament, big one, in your case, Merc Nationals, and they won it, or they got a top 5 and they're like, this
yeah,
is easy. This is no problem. Then it's obviously hard lessons learned after that. And for some, they continued to just do well. But for the most part, everybody's got that one or two. It's almost like gambling. It is gambling, right? But it's, you sit down at the table, whatever it is, and you hit the first couple and you're like, no problem. And then you're all in. And, an hour later, you're walking home with your tail tucked between your legs going, hey, that didn't really work out so well.
yeah. You're gambling on yourself. I mean, that's
No,
that's
that's
the
the
best way to
advantage.
gamble, though, right? I mean, but it's you against the fish. Everybody thinks
Yep.
it's you against the fisherman. It's really not. It's you against
Oh,
the fish. And that's a really good key is don't look at who's in the tournament. It's how many fish you can catch, and how big a fish you can catch.
yeah, and like you said, you got motivated working there, hearing everybody come in and tell all these stories, and fishermen like to tell stories,
Yeah,
whether
absolutely.
they're true or not. We have a lot of stories and a lot of things to say. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, the
and
biggest, I mean, for new guys starting out tournament fishing, I mean, I would, as far as a tip goes, just guys getting started, I would go fishing. I would go when I back in the day, I'd fish when these guys were fishing tournaments and stay out of their way. But go fishing and see what you come in with, weigh your best 5 and see where you would fall into place in these tournaments. And then when you get to the point where you're making money, then jump in the tournaments. Don't
yep.
don't go donate all your money, or you're going to give up and quit right away. So
Yeah, it's not cheap by all means, and it's a really good way to kind of gauge yourself against the field and what's going on out there. Now, granted, you need to keep your 5 fish caught in the same time frame they did. You don't get to go out in
yeah,
the evening and whack 5 big ones during the spawn and say, "Well, these guys suck, man. I just got 50 pounds."
yeah,
I've done that when there's tournaments on my local lake and I'm guiding or whatever, and I'm like, "Hey, I only had 2 or 4 rods out all day," and they were teams, so they had 4 rods out, and I wouldn't even fish them, but my clients brought in just as much as the winter did, and we fished from 7 to 3,
yeah,
and we were done. But then there's other days you're like, oh, but I also stay out of the areas where I know the big ones are at and what have you. But it's a good way to learn. Tournaments just make you a better angler. Period. Win or lose
100%.
just by fishing them.
Yep,
I mean, because it's as much as anybody. It's a mental game, and I've said this all along, and I told us a lot of guys when the head-to-head thing was going on in the PWS. I said it's not even you against the other guy. It's just what you said. It's you versus the fish. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter what
yeah,
he's doing or she's doing or how many they caught. It's how many. You know, once you give up to that thing that's got a brain right the size of a pea, you lost.
yeah.
So you can't obviously fold to a not a very smart fish, even though there's days where they outsmart us. And
A lot of it.
right? There's plenty of
Yeah,
those days. But the minute you think that, psychologically you're done, you just, throw it in. But it's you and the fish. How many, in certain cases, how many even fast can I catch? And then for the most part, how many, where's my 5 big bites today? And at the end of the day, you'll find out where you fell with everybody else. So for those that don't know, the dealership, the boat dock, right? And you're
yeah,
in Fond
correct.
du Lac or
Yep, just
Yep.
South Fond du Lac. Yep.
Okay, we'll drop a link in the YouTube below. What are you selling over there as far as brands?
Just Ranger and Triton. So I've sold Triton since I opened in 2007, and we've never dropped. I've tried some other brands and stuff, and just never was happy with things. So, but Ranger and Triton, Johnny Morris brands, love dealing with them guys. Just a fantastic organization. The guy donates so much
Oh yeah,
money to the business, to our industry. He's just a phenomenal spokesperson for the outdoors.
yeah, he is. Right there is one of the two thank you letters I've gotten from Johnny over the years, and hands down, he was at the Classic. Nobody has donated more in conservation and done more for the sport. People may have their opinion on the Bass Pro or Cabela's, whatever the case is, but Johnny is
Yeah,
at the top of that, and has created the foundation and funding, and has just done, like I said, more for the sport, like Ray Scott had in creating bass than anybody has, period. Without him, the National Walleye Tour doesn't exist, theoretically,
yes,
right?
correct.
Bassmasters is their own thing, but he was the title sponsor at the Classic and is for so many other things. And most all the tournament trails out there, bass and walleye, they got their hands in it, or they own it, and that goes as boat manufacturers, right? White River Marine Group, Ranger,
Yeah,
Triton, Nitro, a handful of Tracker, the world's largest selling, because they got them, in every kind of price range and size and model. But you're doing the Rangers and the Tritons. And while we're talking boats, so we've had Brett King on here and some other, Kent Anderson was just on with Warrior Boats. How is the boat industry kind of looking on your end? You obviously have a very good pulse on it.
I mean, as far as sales goes,
Sales,
it's definitely slowed down a little bit. I mean, in the COVID time, that we couldn't keep stuff in stock, couldn't get
Right.
product. I mean, everybody wanted to buy everything, and we've been busy. When I opened at the worst possible time you could even open a business in 07, 08.
Yeah. Yeah, you did. That was tough.
I didn't eat well then, but we didn't lose any money then neither. I mean, it's just, you just do what you can. You bust your butt and make it up in other ways. And I mean, I definitely am expecting a little bit of slowdown in the sales, and maybe a little price reductions on some of these, boats, but it's tough to say. I mean, certainly can't read the future, but
No. Well, as a consumer, I would love to see some price reduction on those boat
yeah.
boat price tags come down a little bit.
Well, with everything, not just boat
Yeah,
prices, just
exactly.
everything.
And that's what people forget, is that it's the boat's just one aspect of it. It's the motor, the trailer, the electronics, right? And electronics is a big deal. But you're obviously able to leave and go fishing, so you've got yourself a good core group of employees, which is obviously hard to find, and you've kept them, it sounds like, for a while, which is, kudos to you. And that's great, because it allows you to go, chase your passion and stuff. But man, it probably helps, I'm sure, a lot in your dealership with you being a tournament angler. I'm sure you probably got guys working there that fish to local tournaments and stuff too.
Yeah, that's the problem, because they want off.
It can be a problem.
They want to go fishing, and that's but that's
You
when
are
I come back, like, they can do that stuff,
all right.
So that's the advantage, and that's what I tell them too. Like, when I'm here, it's, if you guys need to leave, let me know. So it works out good. But as long as we're talking about that, I am looking for one more really good rigger. We rig a ton of boat. Like, we got guys that'll buy a brand new boat, not the brands we sell, and they'll bring in here and we rig them for them. So, like, that's kind of what we're known for, is staying on top of the latest technology, with electronics and how to do all that stuff. So very precise, very detailed. I don't put up with anything less. So, but we are looking for one solid guy. So if anybody, there'd be a younger guy, I don't mind teaching people. Actually, my best guys are all from the automotive field, and I got one electrician that I trained. But
that's probably a good thing to have on staff.
Yeah, you don't have to be in the marine business to work at a place like this. If you're a good worker and like your finished product, you fit right in. So
You need a
Anybody
guy that shows up and has a little pride in his work, right? Those are the two
You gotta
qualities
have
Josh is
pride.
looking for.
Yeah, you have to have pride in your finished product because it makes you feel good when that customer comes in and looks at his boat and said, "This is awesome. You guys nailed it." So
And that's exactly what I was getting to is being you got tournament guys and yourself that when it comes to rigging and the setups, boats are coming out of your place, out of the boat dock, ready to roll. I mean, they're done
ready to
right,
roll.
and you know what it is, and you know who's in tournaments and who's got certain needs, and versus a weekend guy and what have you. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
like you said, now you're known for that, and guys are coming over there. And I had this talk with actually down at the Classic with another South Dakota guy saying we don't have anybody like Bill Shimoda does that, right? Is rigging out of his place, and you're doing it. And we have Sioux Sports, and they do good. But if we even had somebody more local here, and if you're listening and you are that guy around Sioux Falls, let me know because we don't know about you. There's a bunch of us that I would love for somebody to go back through my boat and do it right. It came directly from
Yeah.
factory and store. And it's not. I open up the thing and it's just a giant mess. And I'm looking to, move from the acids over to lithium. And I just want it done right and more clean. So that if something does go, it's easy to fix, right? Because things happen on tournament days or practice. And you don't want to spend hours trying to figure out what wire goes where. And I mean, I can't even tell you what's hooked up to what. It's just a disaster. Everything works, which is great, but everything works till it doesn't. And then it's a problem. And if it's not clean and you don't know what goes where, you're going to probably do more damage than good tugging on stuff because it's frustrating. I don't wood and concrete I'm working with, electrical things, take it to Josh or take it to somewhere. Somebody else can do that. It's not my thing.
Yeah, no, it's very sophisticated now, and it's stuff has to be done right, or you will have problems. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, especially with the new switch to the lithium and the 4 to 6, 7 graphs on every boat, and I mean, I got a Mega Live 360 and 4 graphs, but then you run, which you got the same, or a Garmin or a Live Target, whatever it may be. I'm sure maybe, and you probably got 5 or 6 graphs on there.
Yeah, I only have 4, but
I got 4. It's a lot of juice.
I don't need any more. Yeah,
that is plenty. I agree. It's plenty. Yeah. A lot of the walleye guys will stick one in the back that, if you're on Erie or something, that troll a lot since they're always facing backwards. But it's just one more thing to get in the way, especially for net and fish and what have you. So, you touched on it. We'll just cover it when you went there. You're not going to fish the walleye circuit this year. We're going all in on the bass stuff.
Well, I don't have time. So last year when I won the opportunity to go to the Classic, I took 3rd in the national championship, and that's what got me to the Classic. But the BASS paid for all my opens.
Oh,
so
okay.
There's 9 Bassmaster Opens, so they're completely paid for, which was awesome. So I had a hell of a deal. I got the Classic all paid for, $10,000 in cash. I got plus another 10 for the Classic. It was a pretty damn good gig. So
you're never going to see that in the walleye world. No one's paying for nothing for you. It's just not happening.
Well, unless you do well, I mean, then you get paid. But payouts in the walleye isn't terrible. It's just, you were at the Classic. I mean, it's a different world.
Completely different world. And the Bass Opens, you got to do 9 of them, and I think what are the entry fees on that?
$2,000.
$2,000, right? So yeah, that's a big deal. I would
$18,000. Just here you go and go fish. And I mean, I got my hands full. So now my schedule gets easier because I got 4 done, including the Classic. I have 6 left for the year, and they're kind of spread out once a month here. So that's good because I just jammed in from end of February to now. I jammed in 4 giant tournaments. So
I was almost back to back.
Work for a month here. So
yeah, I'm sure your wife and everybody's glad to have you home for a little bit, though.
Mm-hmm.
But you got a hell of a vacation there last week, so we'll just dive into that. You fished the Nationals, so I think everybody wonders, how do you qualify for the Classic? There's, I went to, so you're on the St. Croix team in the 7 as well as I am.
Yeah.
Together, and we all went out Saturday night and went bowling. And so Stephen Browning and David Undall and I was talking to those guys and talking to Steve about, I'm like, how do you, because there's a lot of names up there this year that I've never heard of, and I'm like, Steve, how do you even qualify for the Classic anymore? And he's like, it's changed a lot, since he's been doing it for a long time, obviously. But he was like, I'm not even 100% sure really how you do it anymore. The Nationals, Opens, Elite Series, the Classic winner is going to go back to the next Classic. Universities, right? So, and you took the Bass Nation route is the way you went, right?
Yeah, that's the way I went. So with the Bass Nation route, and they've changed it now, but when I qualified last year, it's the top Wisconsin. How can I even explain this? I had to jump through hoops when I did this. So you fish in a club, right? And then you fish your state tournament, and your top what do they take? The top 10 guys in that state tournament go to the regional champ, or they call it a regional championship, I think. And the regional championship just happened to be on Lake Winnebago. And so I took like second place in the state tournament, went to the regionals, I won it. And then I went to the national championship, which was in South Carolina, Lake Hartwell. And I took third. The top three go to the Bassmaster Classic.
So how many regions are there?
At the national championship, it's everybody. It's 56 people, I think there was, but from South Africa, Japan.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, it's basically one guy per state. Okay, so you got 50. There are 50 people in the U.S. and then plus these outside guys, and there might have been a college guy in there too. I don't know, but I think there was 56. But somehow I pulled off a third. I bombed the last day, and luckily everybody else bombed. I made it by like 3 ounces, and I just snuck it in. But that's what got me to the Classic. So every year, there's 3 of them that come from the Bass Nation. There's 40 of them from the Elite Series, so the top 40 fish in the Elites. There's 9 of them that come from whoever wins the Bassmaster Opens. So if you win one Open and you're signed up for the division, you get to go to the Classic.
I think that's how Adam got in.
Yes.
Rasmussen. Yep.
He won one of them tournaments. I'm not sure. Yep. So, and then there's a college guy that gets in, the highest college team or something. I don't know. It's only one guy though, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's what because as a Mount whatever, and they actually won the other day. Of course, he wasn't there because he was fishing a Classic, and I don't even know if he's in college anymore or not. But that's what I kind of wonders. Like, it's college guys fish as a team, but only one. I imagine they have to designate a boat captain, and then maybe it kind of is a toss-up between the two on who can go. And
I think they actually have a fish off.
Oh, do they? That makes sense.
Each other. Yeah, I think they do. So that's I don't know, but like this year there was 56.
Yep.
It kind of depends on how many guys double win and stuff, I think, for the number of people, but it's always at least 53, I think. But that's how you get to the Classic, because that's the ultimately. So I still have 6 chances to get to the Classic for next year, but I have to win,
Right. Or what was it? How many of the top 9 in the Opens qualify for Elite Series?
Yes, correct.
Right, as well. Yeah.
Okay. And I am not doing so hot because I am going to all these places that I think I'm in 90th someplace in the Opens, and you got to get the top 9. And this year I didn't really expect, I kind of told myself this is a learning year.
All right.
Because I've never been to any of these places. Like,
right.
We're going back to Hartwell where I did qualify, and that's like what I'm looking forward to. That's
I have a little bit.
I might be able to win that one,
Yeah.
But that's in October, so I have to fish all year to. Yeah, I don't know. We're coming to the Mississippi River though too, but I never do good there. I don't know what's going on with that, but maybe this year will be the year.
It's pretty good bass fishing in the Mississippi River. I fish out of La Crosse area. I really like it over there. That's good. Real good. I see Bass Nation's coming there, I think, next month or something, or early May. So on the nation level, they do 4, right, tournaments?
So the nation changed. So now there's a regional qualifier, and the top 20 go to the national championship. And the national championship now, instead of being 56 boats, it's like 250 or 225. Right. and the top 3 for that go to the Classic. So the locals that are making the championship have a huge advantage, I think, with that. But it's definitely less steps than what I just took, went through. So let's say I'd go to lacrosse and I'd take a top 20, I automatically go to the national championship, and then I got to be in the top 3 to go to the Classic. So
You could
for
fish 2
me,
tournaments.
I had to make my state team, be the highest Wisconsin guy, and then still go to the national championship. Like, I think it was way harder to do that than what it is now. So,
Well, that's a whole extra step. I mean, now you're basically fishing 2 tournaments. You go to the lacrosse one, you
yes,
win it or finish top 20, bam, you're in the
yes,
regionals or whatever you call it, and then you finish top 3 and you got the bid.
yep, exactly. So,
Yeah, that is interesting. Either way, there's no easy way. Those, I don't think people understand that the Opens have a field of like 200 plus.
225, and there's a lot. There is
Right.
so many guys, and it's not like the walleye world, right? So everybody had, like, you go walleye fishing in the walleye tournaments, and you got your trollers, and you got your jiggers, and you got your live baiters, and you got different segments of people doing different things. The bass guys are 100% 225 boats doing the same thing that can all do the same thing. So they can all forward sonar, they can all go cast banks. It doesn't, and it's too much. Actually, we get too many days of practice. We get 4.5 days of practice, which I like because there's off limits, So I wish the walleye world had. There's a lot of things I wish the walleye world had that the bass world has, And one of them is off limits. And we have 14 days ahead of the tournament. We can't be on the water at all. You can't get information from anybody. It's you, and that's it. So you can work with other people in the tournament, but I don't. I'm just a loner, and I just, do my thing. So,
well, you're working against yourself if you're doing that in a sense too, right? So, I mean,
yeah,
I get it. There's good and bad to those things.
It would be helpful for me this year because I don't know any of these spots where almost all these guys have been to these places. Because I fished the walleye forever. I haven't been to these spots. Okeechobee, Sandy Cooper. I mean, and they all fish differently. Like, it's not like you go to Winnebago and then you go to another lake that fishes just like Winnebago. Like, it doesn't happen. They all have their little nuances that are different.
Yeah, it's I suppose going to Bass Lakes is like going to a Bago or a Devil's, though. It's where you got to bring everything.
You do.
Because you don't know what you're getting into. I mean, after you've been there a few times, you may narrow that down a little bit, but going to Kaboji certainly isn't like going to Erie when you can just grab this and go.
Yeah, the only thing I don't need to bring along is trolling rods.
Right, that's exactly it. Wouldn't that be something if Josh is out there pulling a planer board up on the bank with one rod or something, and he's casting with another or what have you, and those bass guys wouldn't know what the hell. I mean, it happened in the crappie world. They introduced trolling, and and it's caught on, and it caught some fish, and Scarlett won some money with it. But I don't see that happening in the bass world.
We definitely can't troll. Like, you would get kicked out instantly if you started trolling. But
fair, you'd get ran right out of there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for sure.
That's fair enough, and that's fine. That's the difference with it. And I love bass fishing. We have the chutes down here where I guide, and I get up there a little bit in the summers on days off and chase them around. Obviously, the smallmouth are great. We do have pretty good largemouth population. Lewis and Clark bass was actually Bassmasters was there back in the 90s. I actually have a guy I fished with in Venice who fished that tournament. And everybody that fished it remembers it vividly because it's very unique. It's kind of sandbars. It's almost like Venice. Walleye guys compare it to maybe kind of Bismarck, but I think it's Bismarck and then some where the river runs because you got 40 miles of you don't know what's around next corner. And a bass boat's going to get it. Best thing is a flat bottom. A duck boat is the best thing to have. But when I'm in there with my walleye boat, it's you get on plane and go. So you can get through that skinny water, but you just can't come off plane or if you got a pile of people in there. But yeah, it's fun. And Bassers is exciting, but you touched on it, how there's such a vast difference. So you've been there and done it, so you can attest and speak to this for everybody now. The walleye tournament world and the bass tournament world. And if people don't know, yes, tournaments are tournaments, but you're dealing with $1 billion industry versus a $100 million industry, and difference between millions and billions is a hell of a lot. Which is why you see so much stuff different in the bass. And you got 200. I mean, you got full fields. You have people, different levels working their way up to qualify.
Mm-hmm.
You're going against 225 guys that are all sticks. I mean, let's just call what it is in the walleye world. We know we got 10% of whatever just here because they can be here.
Yeah.
It's pay to play. I mean, it's just the way it is. And that's fine. We want to take those guys' money, and occasionally they'll stumble into something and take ours too. It's just the way it is. So, and it's probably more than 10%. And we have the pro-am, type thing as well. But what do you see? I mean, obviously there's a ton of difference. You touched on it as limits. What else? What can the walleye world do better? I mean, let's just say we don't have their money. So we're limited. If we had the walleye world had all the money, the bass does, we could do a lot of things, whether they would do it or not.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, money wise, I mean, obviously these tournaments could have better payouts. I mean, there's where the bass comes in. I mean, you look at how many, like even who works for bass, like what them guys have to do to make all them payroll.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many guys who actually work for bass, guys and girls work for bass. Like it's a lot.
It's a lot. I know. I got some friends over there, James Hall, editor, and yeah, there's a lot of them.
I can't even imagine what, I don't know where they get all their money from. Like, is it all sponsor based or where is it all coming from? But like, we're not even the same league, not even close in the walleye world. Like, it's not, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to talk bad about the National Walleye Tour or anything like that, because that's kind of what I was doing, at the end here. I mean, there's definitely some improvements that need to be changed in that whole deal, and that can be done. But they fight a lot more laws than we're dealing with on the bass side. Whether it's culling fish or not being able to cull or upgrade fish, slot limits. I mean, we got all kinds of stupid rules that affect the growth of our business.
Yep.
And I don't know. I don't know what they can do. I mean, that's more of a conservation deal with that.
Well, that bass has eliminated those hurdles though. So bass reaches out and works with the local DNRs and gets the culling permit. I mean, you can't cull in South Dakota. I don't care what kind of species it is. But when the Bass Elite came here, they could cull, and they could load those fish in a boat and drive them 20 miles back into town for the weigh-in. Yep. They had a place they had to stop, drain, do the business, reload them, and move on. They put process steps in place, but that's 100% on bass, reaching out, working with the DNR, saying, this is what we got going. This is how we like to do things. If we can't cull, we're not coming, because that's just, I don't know if you've ever seen a no-cull bass tournament. Now, Lake Fork did some stuff different because they have that big bass slot type thing, and so they had a little catch, weigh, and release, and then I think you could bring one in if it was over like 25 or anything over 25 inches you could bring in or something like that. So that was a first, but that's Lake Fork, right? Guys are like, that's cool. We'll work with it. It's all live stream. We'll make the TV, and we're going to have these big weights. And there was still a lot of bass brought in to be shown on stage and have that present. So that was cool. But yeah, we always got all those hurdles to deal with, and the party fishing, the culling, the slots are probably the biggest thing, right? Where you can't catch any of the big fish. You can only go fish 19.5 inch and smaller fish, which, oh yay. Right.
Yeah. No, it's just so, after you start doing the bass stuff, you just realize even more how messed up the walleye side is, or how much, the problem is a lot of these guys in these walleye tournaments aren't the best fishermen that are winning the tournaments, because they luckily you can't go target like 19-inch fish, right? And, if you catch 18-inch fish, you're not I don't know how you can target just 19s and you come catch with all 18s. Like they hang out together. You just happen to catch, and then you have to decide which ones to throw back so you don't keep them. Like, there's too much luck when it comes to that in the walleye side, and I'm not taking away from any of the anglers that have won slot tournaments. I'm just saying that there's luck involved in what you catch at what time and what you decide to keep. So.
Well, you hear it all the time as the guy who does good will be like, they came in the right order,
Yeah,
and it just everything lined up for that person that day, and they came in the right order. When they don't come in the right order is, I got to make the decision because I can't call. I can't, and then you throw it back, and then that was it. That was the one you needed at the end of the day to put you over the top, and so yeah, that sucks is what that is.
Yeah.
So,
Mississippi River last year on the NWT, I caught all big ones. Like they couldn't be over. They had to be over 27 or under 22 or something. And I just
19 and a half, I think there, or 20. Yeah, it's
20
to 27.
I had an awesome tournament anywhere else in the world, and I couldn't weigh any of them because they were all too big, and it was just, you get nothing out of it. I mean, just so frustrating. But that's what we deal with right now.
But I mean, we all know it. That's what we sign up for. And this year, if you're not fishing it, but there've been some rule changes, and we basically have a 1-man limit everywhere. And so it really comes down to, like Green Bay is 3 fish. I mean, first year tournament, you can call, keep 6, throw out the 6 before you head in, weigh in your biggest 5. So not a big deal there. But everywhere else is 4, 3, and 5. No extra fish in the box, period. Once you put that last one in that box, you're done for the day. So you may only fish a few hours. It may fish all day. But it ultimately is going to come down to, do I keep this fish or not?
Yep. And there again, the best fisherman will not win that tournament.
Right. Unless they come in the right order. Right?
Yeah. Well, it's impossible.
Whoever that is who gets them in the right order. Yeah. You don't get to make that call necessarily.
It should be whoever can catch the biggest fish in 8 hours and come in and weigh your fish,
Yep. Which that's what AIM's for.
Yes.
Right. That format is, has
100%.
got that figured out. It seems like it's growing pretty good, and they have the river circuit now as well. But all right, so that's the walleye world. We covered it. Let's get into the real business and talk about the Classic. So I was there, went down and stayed with Sieverding and Drake Hurd and a handful of the guys at a house Adam Rasmussen had for it. But we got to watch it. I was there at takeoff. I got you on camera doing the takeoff thing. It was cool. Every which level. We've all watched it on TV. After being there is great, but I still watched it on TV. You were 90 miles from the hotel or from the convention center.
Oh, yeah.
So that kind of sucked. An hour and a half drive. I got there in 10 minutes and you guys were all out. I'm like, I guess I'll grab another cup of coffee and start heading back, and then I have 2 or 3 hours. So we watched it, and it was awesome. But let's just walk everybody through it a little bit. We got there through the nationals. You're qualified. Josh shows up in Tulsa. So it's out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, Grand Lake, Cherokee Lakes, which is cool because I haven't been down to Oklahoma since I was down there for my grandfather's funeral from Veneta, which you drove right by because my Bashore family name is from that area. And so that was cool. I'm like, I was 14 last time I was here, and I recognized a few, signs of the cities and stuff. Thought, all right, well, that's cool. But, I didn't. It was an hour and a half drive. So Josh rolls into Tulsa. You're there like a week early, I think, week and a half.
Yeah. So so you guys all know how this works. As soon as I got off the stage at Nationals and realized that I made the Classic, they grabbed me off the stage and said, all information is off limits. You can't talk to anybody. You can't solicit any information, nothing. So at that point, I was like, holy, I can't even believe I made the Classic, and they're grabbing me off the stage and telling me this. So that was cool. But so I had to do all my own research. We were able to go there until December 31st by yourself. And so I took my little tiller boat and went and drove around as many places I could and marked as much as I could. And I don't even know if I ended up fishing any of them spots that I found, but everything is different in December than it was in, now. So, but I did that. I get to Tulsa. We get to practice. Actually, it's Grove, Oklahoma is where the tournament was out of.
All right.
We get to practice 4 days. So we get first 3 days, and then there's an official practice on Wednesday. which actually I didn't even realize. I looked at the itinerary and I thought we only got the first 3 days and that was it. But the fourth day, we got also. But so the first 3 days, I started the first day and I found some good stuff right off the bat. Like, and by the afternoon, I thought I had a plan figured out with a big spinner bait, and I just ended up running that whole program, and that's eventually what ended up costing me during the first day of the tournament. But the practice, everything in the spring is changing so fast, whether it's walleyes or bass. The fish are on the move unless your weather is completely a solid, like let's say it's all just 40 degrees and it doesn't move, then you're probably okay. But with temps going from 75 down to 35, I mean, the fish are going in and out, up in the bank.
It got cold there in the morning.
Yeah, it was like 30. It was like 38 that second day, I think, when we took off, and
which felt great to guys like a lot of us, but it was everybody else was damn near in ice bibs, freezing. But it was a wind, it was north breeze, so it wasn't warm.
Yeah. Oh. So the first day of practice, I found these fish shallow, and they were like a foot of water and hanging out in stumps. But the water temp was 63 degrees where I found, and eventually. And I caught everything on spinnerbait and a big chunk of bass assassin plastic dye dapper. But that water cooled off 6 degrees by the third tournament practice day, or the fourth practice day on Wednesday. That water dropped 6 degrees. And I didn't go recheck these spots because I'm like, well, if I don't find anything else, I'm just going fishing and going to check these spots. But that obviously had a huge impact on what happened there. But that fourth practice day, I still caught them on spinnerbaits in all different spots that I didn't even pre-fish on the first 3 days. And man, I was so dialed with that spinnerbait and I don't ever throw it. Like, I've never thrown a spinnerbait in a bass tournament in my life, but they wanted to eat this thing. It's a spinnerbait's so easy to use. Right. Like growing up, I mean, that's what we just went and casted spinnerbaits, Yep. And such an easy thing to use, but they just eat spinnerbaits on Grand Lake. Like some of the other lakes in Oklahoma too, they eat spinnerbaits. And I couldn't believe I was on that bite. I'm like, this is so easy. You cast it and you just slow wind it back to the boat, and that paddle tail's just barely moving, and they just clobbered it. They're just clobbering it. But first day of the tournament, we had media day and stuff in between there. I don't know if you were there for that stuff. But all the other extras leading up to the tournament, I mean, you guys wouldn't even believe like the publicity that this thing has. Like it's crazy. Like they had a night of the champions on Wednesday night where we all got dressed up and went out to eat and, had some drinks and stuff like that. But like Thursday was media day, and I gave probably 3 or 4 interviews, nothing crazy. But some of these guys, like I was parked next to Jason Christie, and he didn't even stop giving interviews. Like he's the local. But
yep.
He needed a damn beer after, like I was ready to give him a beer because he just was one after the other,
Didn't have a lot of voice left, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, and some of his guys, they couldn't get to him, so they came to me. So I got some extra interview time.
Like, while we're waiting for him, let's talk to this guy.
Yeah.
Hey, take it when you can get it, man.
But at that time, I thought I was going to whoop some ass,
Right. Like, your confidence is good.
I was jacked up then. Like, I'm like, they're talking to this guy. I think I'm going to beat him, But
it's Jason's confidence wasn't good.
No, and he kept everybody. That's the thing. Like all these guys were crying the blues, and I'm thinking back, I'm on a really good bite.
But you've done this enough, you know how it is. And the walleye guys are always crying the blues, and then all of a sudden, it's the most amazing bite ever come tournament day, and you're like, bull crap, man.
These guys were really crying though, like getting 2 bites. I talked to Robertson that when he's like, I got 2 bites today, and I'm like, dude, I got
2 bites today. You got to do better. I got 2 bites today.
Yeah.
We crush some beers over my head while I tell the story, right? That guy's freak of nature.
He is a freak of nature. Actually, he was in the the second day coming down the elevator. He was in the elevator, and I look at him like, "You all right, dude?" And he's like, I just threw up, man.
I don't doubt it one bit.
Acid reflux or
Yeah.
acid reflux. I'm like, all right, man. I hope you feel better. But
Yeah.
I think he had his fur coat on in the elevator too. I'm like, you're something else, you know.
Yep.
But no, I was. So it was a little overwhelming with all the people. I mean, all these guys you see on TV, but I kind of just got that out of my head because after talking to them, they're just like me and you. I mean, they're not.
Right.
They're really not different. They're different, you know, because they're southern and a little different, but they're still
or Canadian because he's
or Canadian,
right,
or Japanese.
Yeah, or Japanese. Yeah, we're the
get the head nods from them guys. Yeah, right.
Yep.
But they're just like us. I mean, there's nothing to. So once I realized that and settled in, I was more comfortable for sure. But yeah, I don't know if you want me to get into the tournament or where you want to go with this, but
yeah, just so you go right into the tournament. Practice was good. I showed up Thursday media day. I got there late and it was rainy, so I didn't come to the thing. But for people that don't know, is media day is. I mean, you guys are off the water. Did you go to Bass Pro for that, or was that in that lot where you had you went to Bass Pro?
Yeah, Bass Pro.
Yeah, so they have them all set up. Tons of media. Tulsa did a pretty good job covering it. At the takeoff in the morning, there was. You probably maybe didn't notice it. I mean, you probably heard the buzzing because there was like a dozen drones flying over all the boats. And then there's two big helicopters flying over as well because you had news. And I pulled in behind like 4 buses. I'm like, what? Geez, I don't know if I want to go this way, but it was like the family and friends, right? From the hotel. They shuttle you guys out there. You had the Night of the Champions Wednesday. But I mean, they treated you like royalty there. Right, fed you, bust you everywhere you went. I mean, obviously they didn't want to lose track of you. They didn't want nobody to go do nothing stupid. Your boats and trucks were all secured with security on them 24/7 in a lot, like a block or so from you guys' hotel.
Yeah, a couple blocks. Yeah, they have you fenced off, and you cannot. If you try going in there and you're not supposed to be in there, they will tackle you. Yeah. It's crazy, but yeah, they treat us like royalty. I mean, I don't think there's a better word for it. Like it was, you know,
and it's all taken care of. Your hotel and all this stuff. It's all you made all paid for. Yeah, I mean, I watched a lot of it leading up, and I always do, and I just always like, and I get it. That's the biggest stage. This is it. This is beyond bucket list. This is once in a lifetime. You know, I mean, obviously, if you can win it, that's amazing. But just going to the Classic, qualifying. I mean, you've beat up thousands of other bass anglers. It didn't go the way you wanted. It didn't have the day way you wanted. And I was sitting there with Severding, and I was like, son of a gun, he didn't. Damn it, But I'm like, I guarantee you, he caught him. I said, I bet he caught a ton of fish, Dave, and I'll let you elaborate on that. I said, he's got to have a 30-pound bag tomorrow. Just watch it. But we got you and Adam and you got these northern guys. And then Jay, who wasn't a walleye tournament angler, but still throw him in that walleye bucket just because we've known Jay, since he was little from his dad, Jason, and growing up in that walleye world. I'm like, they're representing, they're coming out, if that makes, you don't see bass guys converting to walleye, but you see all the walleye guys, a ton of them fish the Sturgeon Bay Open, and they do well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's just because you're a more versatile angler? Obviously, with the live scope and everybody's throwing the walleye baits that we've been throwing our whole life, right? A 3-inch minnow on a jig,
So I've never in the walleye world, like I remember trolling once or twice, and that's it. And I trolled in one NWT tournament on Green Bay and caught a couple big ones, but generally I wasn't trolling ever. Like I didn't even own trolling rods, and so I fished, walleyes like I fish bass, basically, so that's how a lot of these guys are. I mean, I know Adam fishes walleye up on Green Bay a lot, and Jay, I don't know how much he fishes walleye. He's pretty quiet cat. So
yeah, yes.
Haven't really figured him out yet, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't make you a worse angler by all means. And Gussie's, from up north and has fished plenty of walleye in his days
Oh yeah,
as well.
Canadians
So,
are, yeah.
uh-huh.
Yeah, them guys fish whatever they can catch, and that's the same as me. I mean, I like pan fishing and any kind of, it doesn't matter to me. Catching fish is fun.
So you finished 54th overall. Didn't day one sucked?
Yeah, so day one, so the spinnerbait deal completely killed me. And the last day of practice was on the Wednesday. The weather had changed from Wednesday to Friday. First day was Friday of the tournament. And I was jacked up. I'm going to go whale on these fish. And I had a super good spot a long ways away from the launch. And after talking to the warden, because the warden gave a big speech, and them guys that's phenomenal too. Like the police department, the wardens, the whole DNR system, they were all like jacked up for us, and basically told us, if you got a problem with anything, you call us, and we're out there watching out for you, so protecting us from other anglers coming in too close or whatever. They're on the water helping us. So
You have to deal with something that we don't have to deal with in the walleye world, and that's a ton of spectators on the water.
yeah,
I'm driving over the bridge to go there in the morning, and I'm just pushing to get there before we even take off. And it's pitch black. I'm like, there's no way they're leaving at 7:15. It is dark as hell out. And it's like 6:30, 6:45, and it's not even close to being light.
yeah.
But I see bass boats flying around in the pitch black. I can just see the light on the front and the back, and they're flying underneath the bridge. And these are spectators going and getting set up.
Yeah.
For where you're going to go. And then 7:15, sure as crap, boom, Mercer starts sending you, and it was just barely light enough. It was kind of misty, so it was still dark, but it was good enough to go. But you had to zigzag through I don't know what, 30, 40 boats probably just to get out.
Yeah, and then then it was fine, but I didn't have many guys following me, so
they showed it on the tracker, and early you were way up further than anybody.
Oh yeah.
I was like, there you go, typical walleye guy going far away as he can from the boat launch to catch the fish.
Yeah, I had something special I thought figured out, but I get up there, so that I was getting back to the DNR guy. I had this all planned out, like what I was going to do at this first spot that was a long ways away, and they told us we couldn't run above idle speed along a shoreline. So if you're within 150 feet of shoreline, you had to idle. So I'm like, God dang it all, because this spot, I had to run the shore. I was going to take out my lower unit on stumps,
Ooh.
So I get in there, and I decided I'm just going to fish a ways in, and then I'm just going to idle, because I had to idle in like 40 minutes to get to this spot.
Way back in.
It was a shallow flat that dropped down into like a ditch. And the fish were just stacked. Like, I was so jacked up to get in there. I went there and practiced and had 3 keepers in a half an hour, and I wasn't even trying hard, And I was worried about somebody else finding this spot. Well, obviously I shouldn't have worried about that, but I get in there and I'm idling through, and I'm like, what in the heck? I'm like kicking mud up, and I'm looking at the rocks, and I'm like, they dropped the water on me like 8 inches, it looked like, on the rocks. And because I'm kicking mud up with my big motor, and it's like my graph is flashing, it's too shallow. So I put the trolling motor down, and I ran that as fast as I could, and I could only go 2 miles an hour with it because I'm dragging the boat through this mud. But I finally get in there into this hot honey hole deal that I thought was a honey hole, and I cast the spinnerbait where I had a 3.5 in practice, and I get bit, and it missed it. And that sucker would not rebite either. I know it was the same damn fish too. This is a week later, and I could not catch a keeper fish. I caught 4 or 5 dinks, and the big ones were gone. And I wanted to leave that place with 12 pounds. Like I told myself, I'm not leaving here until I get 12 pounds, because I'll fish better the rest of the day with a limit in the boat, and it'll just be a burden off my chest to get a limit, And I thought I could get a limit in a half an hour. I could get a limit up there. Well, I get in there. I'm looking at my clock. It's 10 o'clock. And I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? You know, we take off at 7. I'm finally at the end of the deal at almost 10. I'm like, I got to get out of here. I got so many other spots that I can go and catch fish. So I boogie out of there. By the time I get out of there, it's 11 o'clock. I got to be in at 3:15. And I'm like, no big deal though. I got 7 other spots that all had fish, you know, and they were all clobber and spinner baits. And I just start running that program. I lose one, a keeper, the second spot, and I just start catching shorts. Like I couldn't catch a big fish. Like they have to be 14 inches. I had, I don't know how many 13 and 3/4. I don't know, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. But it's like I could not win. And I just kept going spot to spot to spot to spot until I'm finally, it's like 2:30. And I'm like, what in the hell am I going to do? I can't, I have no fish in the well. And I have one more spot I can finish up on. And I'm like, I got to go try it. I mean, what am I going to do? I'm not going to rethink my whole plan. Maybe I should have at that time, but check the other spot, catch 2 more dinks. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like I caught 2 or 3 dinks the whole practice. Like they were all nice fish, you know, all in that. I thought I could have between 14 and 18 probably pounds the first day.
Which
And
is exactly what you needed to be in it.
exactly what I needed. And I was so frustrated, man. I came in, I'm thinking, well, there had to be more zeros, right? No, these guys all, it was crazy. I think Scott Canterbury caught 2 fish. Everybody else had a limit of fish. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. How bad can you be? You know, and in hindsight, I should have abandoned the program, and I just didn't know better because all practice it worked for me. You know, but
that's tough. But you're still. I've been there, and on Bago actually, the most confident ever in a tournament, and I zeroed. I caught one right off the bat, threw it back because we could only keep some in 18s. I'm not even keeping an 18 at Bago. It was so good. It was like 25 plus inches every day between the 3 of us, and is the gun club area. Casting countdowns. I'm like, this, we're going to finish 1, 2, and 3. Me and Randy and Ted. This is stupid. Lightning storm comes in. Nope, nothing. Bail on it. Catch one pretty quick. Throw it back. Nothing. Bail on 10. They fish a different spot. Get there 5, but considerably smaller. I go out trying to control in some of the clean water for bigger fish, you know, and just nothing. Could have went and caught 5 dinks, you know, but for 5 pounds, and it no different than zero, and it's not going to do you any good. Points weren't a big deal back then for the championship. It didn't matter. But when you're getting bit by all these dinks all day doing the same program that worked for you, you're just like, it's just a matter of time. One of these is going to stretch out a couple more inches, and I'm because we all fish better once you got 5 in the box. Like I said, all the weight comes off, and it's a whole new game. I've been plenty of tournaments where I'm just going to go get these 5 and then, you know, go hogging at these big spots. So, I mean, I don't blame you one bit. They're biting you. Had an amazing practice. It's hard to throw that, you know, just abandon that program and start over.
I was getting bites that weren't eating it. Like they just hit it, and you'd feel them hit it, but you just keep turning it and wait. You know, generally they come back and hit it again, but it was just so off that, and I didn't know to change because during practice I threw other stuff and they wouldn't bite it. Like, you know, I chuck a chatterbait out or a jig out, and I just couldn't get bit. They were feeding on bait fish during practice, and things changed during the tournament, and I didn't change, and that's what got me, you know. And so I came in with 0 fish the first day, embarrassed as hell, and man, I was sick to my stomach, like, geez. But there's nothing I could do. I
was sick for you. I know the feeling, and I'm like, oh, that poor man, that just sucks. He's on literally the biggest stage, you know, and the one guy that zero. But I look at Seawarding right away. I'm like, you know, he caught fish. I said, I guarantee you, he caught a ton of fish. And it's exactly what, you know, happened. And I think you said that on stage there.
I had plenty of bites. Like if I caught a dozen dinks, I mean, I expected to get a dozen big bites that day.
All right.
This didn't happen. You know, tournament fishing is a game of decisions. You know, that's 90% decisions, you know, and 10%, you know, strengths, I guess, or fishing abilities, I guess. That's the way I see it. And, you know, I just didn't make the right decisions to switch my game plan. But so
Day two, you mixed it up.
Day two, complete another weather change, and that's the lake just fishes so different. I mean, for me in practice, it wasn't changing much, but now it's like everything is changing, right? Big wind blows, opposite directions, big cold front, upper 30s when we take off, blowing out of the north. But I'm thinking, okay, now I caught some nice ones in practice. I mean, 4 or 5 pounders. If they turn on these good spots, I'm going to whack the piss out of them, right? So I start throwing that spinner bait right away. And in 15 minutes, I don't have a bite. And I am done with this thing. Like, I am not going to go down with this thing again, you know?
Yeah.
So I put that sucker away. I grabbed a crankbait. I went to a leeward side where the wind wasn't blowing, and just a rock bank with docks. And I just started throwing a crankbait, a DT6. And I caught one like right away, like 2 casts in, I caught a keeper. And I was pumped out. Like, that sounds so
Thank God.
like, I'm not weighing 0 fish I'm weighing a damn fish on stage, you know? And so I got that on the boat. I just kept going down the shoreline, lost 2 crankbaits in the stumps, grabbed a jig rod, because now I had 6 rods on the deck. I was catching fish today. I planned like I'm doing something to catch fish. Grab a jig rod, chuck it at this rock, and catch like a 3 1/4. And then I decided I'm not putting this jig rod down the rest of the day. And I just kept working, filled my limit, and then just upgraded all day long. And at the end of the day, I weighed 1610. Had a great day. Like, I caught probably 15 legals. You know, and the fish were there the day before. You know, all I had to do was change, you know, and that's where I made the wrong decisions, you know. So
yeah, it was one of the better bags that day.
Right there.
Yep. Yeah, he needed base 29.5 about to make the top 25 cut.
Yeah.
Hey, the good news is you weren't last. That bag was good enough. You moved up.
Yeah, I beat Canterbury, and that was I'm glad I didn't take last. I'm not gonna.
I mean, it all paid the same, but hey, it's right.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of something there.
26 to 56 paid 10 grand each. So we all got the same amount of money. You had to get to that next level. So you had to get to 25th place to get a jump in pay and more respect, I guess, and fish the final day, you know. And that was the goal, was that, like, if you told me that I wasn't going to make the final day, I would have bet you my business that I was going to make the final day. Like, just so
confident.
Yeah, I mean, just unbelievable. But it is what it is. I mean, it's fishing. I can laugh about it now, but I was definitely bummed out that first day.
Yeah, that's a tough one to swallow. And I mean, it's one thing when it's on a smaller walleye tournament or even an NWT thing. You're like, yeah, whatever, that shit happens. But you're up the pinnacle. But nobody can take it away from you. You made it to the freaking Bassmaster Classic, and you fished it, and you competed, and you showed that on the second day. So that there's no fluke that Josh is at the Classic. You earned it. You got there. You caught the hell out of them. You just got the same thing that's bit a lot of us, the overconfidence, which it wasn't wrong, right? It's just the adjustments that we have to make, and we get our blinders on sometime because of our confidence from practice is so good. We just were like, we just try to force it, you know. Yeah. And if you weren't catching dinks, you would have abandoned that, I bet, super early.
100%.
But you just kept getting enough dinks, and then of those bump bites are probably those big females that were on a bed or something that just bumped it as it went by, you know, to get it out of there. You hook into 1 or 2 of those, boom. That's it.
The deal with that is you could fill the boat and you could make 5 casts and have 25 pounds. I mean, that's how that can be. So that's what kept me going also, is just knowing that if I run into the right pocket here, it's on, you know.
Yep.
But, man, wrong choice.
It's tough. It's tough, but you're hungry now and you want to get back there 10 times more than you did before you knew what it was all about, I'm sure.
100%.
You're everything. You haven't had a great start this year, but you still got plenty of room to make some redemption. And like I said, you just got to win one, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's easier said than done, but
it's a lot easier said than done.
at least I feel like I'm going after something now. I didn't realize, and I don't know why I didn't realize this, but I didn't realize it was as cool as it was.
Yeah.
Like even if you never seen the classic like in person, you need to do that.
Yep.
Just a cool, really cool deal.
I've never been to one. I always watch it. Usually spend the whole weekend, get all my stuff out, do all my taxes. I did that in February, got it done and out of the way. And I'm like, I'm going because it's an 8.5 hour drive for one. It's not that far. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's it. Jump my truck, went, and then I was able to go ahead and help out at the St. Croix booth and the Seagar booth, and then go, hang out and meet some of the other companies and just, there's so much stuff going on. I mean, the expo center and then the weigh-in. I mean, those things don't start till noon or 10, but the weigh-in didn't get over till like 7 or so. And that place was pretty packed. And the best thing is it's free. Everything's free. Yeah. Normally you go to these type of things, what does it cost? Nothing. The expo center is free to get in. There's things to buy. You can go and get autographs and photos, and there's games, and there's, buckets. The Bass Pro had buckets for everybody, and Shields had bags. And it was how much free stuff can these guys cram into here? Yep. And then the live stuff's going on. They had it out on the street. It's a spectacle, and they do it great. Jake Latondres, which maybe you saw him, he's a cameraman there, and he's kind of an old friend. Him and I've done some conservation stuff in the past, so I stay in touch with him and follow him. And so I get his, if you follow his Latondres media or his social, you get to see a lot of the background things that happen because he's a cameraman. So he was Christie's cameraman when Christie won the Classic, and I think he was in I can't remember whose boat he was in on day 3, but James Overstreet retired, I think. And so now Jake's kind of like that veteran cameraman who's really good. He got Christie on the topwater bite first thing. So Christie actually caught one on topwater the first morning you were out. I think that was it. That was like the only topwater bite for the whole tournament. And I think, you needed some 5-6 pounders to make that big jump, but I don't know if there was even 5 or 6 pounders caught in the whole tournament.
I think
maybe 4.
6.5 was the biggest fish of the tournament, and there wasn't many 6 pound. Like it was impossible.
3 or 4 of them, maybe.
Yeah, there's no way I was catching 30 pounds. Like that wasn't going to happen. But I didn't care. Like I wanted 5. I don't care if they were 5 14 inches. I wanted 5 fish.
Right.
But
yeah, nothing's tougher than bringing in nothing. You played it off well on stage, and then you got Mercer back for screwing your name up day 2, and that will never happen again. I can almost guarantee that. I think Dave's
and a lot of people know my last name now too, so it's pretty cool, pretty good. I didn't have that planned really that way, but it turned out pretty good.
What did he call you day 1?
Wiesner.
Wiesner?
Yeah. So which I get that all the time, but I had to give him some crap, and it worked out good.
We don't always get to be on the biggest stage. And Tommy Scarlett told me once, says, anytime you get that mic in your hand, take advantage of it, And so when you had that opportunity, stand straight. And it's time to, to say whatever it is I feel like saying. Back to you touched on the DNR guys, and maybe if people weren't listening, they may not have heard this. But like I said, you have spectators to deal with out there, and that can become challenging. And obviously with all the sonar and the pinging going on down there, that can cause some issues. And I think Hamner had to deal with a little bit of that on day 2, but I heard everybody was super respectful, stayed out of your way quite a bit. But every one of those camera boats was being driven or had a DNR officer in it.
Yeah.
Which most people probably didn't realize. And that when they were doing the commentary, they're like, that's probably helping a little bit because the camera boat's hitting it a little closer, but they also see that the CO is in that boat.
Yeah.
And it's everybody's right to get on that water and go do whatever they want to do. But that community is full of tournaments and tournament anglers, and that's nice when they get it and they know it. We ran into it in the walleye world at certain fisheries that are just loaded even throughout the week, and people have no idea what's going on. And if they did, they don't care anyway. They're just going to pull up right beside you to watch. I had that at Chamberlain our first time we were there, and literally guys came flying up, and then they were on their phone, and they looked to me like tournament guys. So I said, "Hey, get off your phone." He said, "No, we're not in the tournament. We're here to watch. We actually came to watch you. Like, can you move your boat from on top of my fish then? If that would be cool." So, that's great. But can you slide out a little bit, please? Oh yeah, and they move. But we don't have to deal with that very often, and thank God. So,
Yeah, I think last time they were there, the guys that were following Christie were really on him, and maybe
Yeah,
that's why the the DNR was in these guys' boat too. I'm not sure, but
it
um,
certainly doesn't help just having, it's like the blue lights in your rearview mirror makes you just, everything puckers up, whether it's you or not, and you're doing everything legal. You're just like, I don't know,
yeah,
who knows? God, I had something else here I was going to touch on quick. I don't remember what it was. I got notes all over the place, but anywho, that's we've talked. Obviously the walleye world has a long ways to go to get bass, and we'll probably never be there, and that's fine. We're different, just in different arenas. But head to heads going on. I think they fired up another season locally, and they're doing the live stuff, so that's good. And I think that's competitive or capitalism, whatever you want to call it, in the industry. So it's making others kind of say, hey, that's working really well for them. We need to try to find a way to do this. But the reality is all of that costs a lot of money.
yeah,
That's a multi-million-dollar production thing going on at Bass to do what they do and bring that to you. So the walleye world's a long, long, long ways from that, but who knows where we'll be in a couple, 3, 4, 5 years. I've had plenty of talks to NWT, and I know they're trying to do things, but it all comes down to it's all about dollars, right? And how much of an entry fee is the cutoff? Where do we hit a point that people say, that's I can't do that? Because in the walleye world, 99% of these guys are that they have other jobs like yourself,
yeah,
and a lot of the bass guys do too, but not as many. But I think you're seeing less of that nowadays, and more of them are having other gigs and jobs and or businesses, just because you just can't make a living fishing like you could 20, 30 years ago. So
yeah.
it is.
I'm shocked at how many bass guys are actually doing it full time for a living. Which I don't know how they do it. I mean, their sponsor dollars are tremendous, I guess, but I mean, otherwise you're relying on winning all the time, and that's just not a guaranteed deal.
No, I mean, their payouts go way further down the line in some sets, and they're higher, but the entry fees are higher. So it's kind
Yeah,
of a balance out, and there's just ways to do that. And ours, when you look at them in relation to the walleye, ours aren't that bad.
no,
They're not great. We like them higher, but our entry fee is half the amount of what theirs is. So of course the payout's gonna be less. I just wish they were, and everybody does. They extended further down the line, because if a
yeah,
guy can at least break even, you can roll that into the next tournament and keep going,
yeah.
because
And
there's a
but
lot of that.
that comes down to sponsors and who's sticking money into the whole thing. And we want to see it. As a business owner, I want to see the industry, the walleye industry,
All
pick
right.
up and grow. We all do. I just don't. I don't know what we need more sponsors jumping in, but they have to get a value back also, and
Right.
that's what they need to see is the value.
Right. And the bass world shows value because of the multimedia. I mean, it's just, the chicken and egg type thing. How do we get there without having this? Someone's got to roger up like Johnny Morris has, in these formats to get them over that next hump. Head to heads doing it, however they're doing, out of pocket or with some private investment. It's just, it's an uphill battle. And like you said, you got a vested interest in it with selling boats, and you're in walleye country over there, and pretty damn good bass fishing as well. So I don't know. COVID screwed up the whole system in a sense, I would say. But it did both. It's the
Yeah,
downfall of it, but it obviously helped elevate a lot of things at the time, which was good. And I don't think everybody left. They got back into it, just because they were able to go back to work. I think it reignited a lot of
yeah.
it.
It
So
definitely got more people involved in the industry that weren't involved. And that's good. We do need more people. I guess you think that it's crowded on the lakes, but we need more of the younger generation coming into play, and buying boats and buying baits and buying everything needed to go fishing.
try it to all of us out there that are sponsored or pro staff. It's your job to get those sales, get those numbers up, so that we can go get your St. Croix rods and your 7 reels, people, because that's what's going to help. It helps it all. So it helps guys like Josh and I, and it just helps the industry. Those are Dingle Johnson funding dollars that go back into conservation and back into the fisheries. And a lot of people probably don't understand that whole thing, and I could go on forever about it. But every dollar spent in the industry can turn around to be $2 or $3 that goes back into it, or back out for it.
Yeah,
So,
and you wanna support the companies that are supporting the industry too, right?
yep.
So that's what I try to get involved with, is supporting the company. I don't care if I got to pay more for some stuff. I mean, if a company is supporting the industry, um, you know, throw them a bone. Like Boss, Boss Snowplow, one of my title sponsor this year. I mean, they're in the fishing industry, so if you're going to buy a snowplow, look at a Boss snowplow. I mean, there's other plows, but I mean, they're investing in our industry with me, and that's what I would look into. So
Nope, you are spot on. You got the Bass Pro, you got the Johnny Morris, you got Yamaha, you got Toyota Trucks is huge sponsor in the fishing industry and the outdoor
huge,
industry in
huge.
general. And people don't realize those are made in Kansas or Kansas City. So this is, maybe it's a Japanese owned company, but this stuff is American made. One of the most American made vehicles out there, I believe. So,
And yeah, Toyota is another. They're not a sponsor, but I mean, I run a Toyota because they're invested in our industry, and um, that's what I did it. And they have contingency programs too, and just that's just part of the game. But Toyota, I can't even believe how much they're involved in the bass stuff. Like it's
yeah.
crazy. They weigh every boat's hooked up to a Toyota when it comes through that arena.
Yep.
It's a good deal.
Yeah. Support those who support us as
Yes.
anglers, not just Josh and I am saying, as us, everybody listening and tuning in is, you're an angler or in the outdoors, whatever it may be. So let's wrap this up, Josh. One little tidbit nugget. You already gave a few earlier on to leave to any aspiring bass angler. Let's narrow it down, or any angling, to help them out in their journey moving forward.
Well, I touched on, fishing. If you're getting into the fishing tournaments, to definitely fish the day of a tournament.
Yeah.
Stay out of the pros' way, but get involved with that. I'll leave you with a little tip that most guys overthink, and I always have a hook sharpener in my pocket. And I don't know why more people don't do this, but I have a real little it's a real fine tip sharpener that's in my pocket, and I'm always checking my hook sharpness. Like, I've lost too many fish in the past where your hook is dull and you need to penetrate them things. And so I check it. And the other thing to do is you check your hook. You don't touch your hook to check the sharpness, right? Grab the hook, roll it across your fingernail. And if it grabs your fingernail, it's sharp. If it slides across your fingernail, no problem, it is dull. And that's where your sharpener comes in. Make sure your hooks are sharp. You will put way more fish in the boat. It's not even funny. And it's amazing to me how many guys don't pay attention to that.
No, that is a very good tip that could make a good day into a great day when it comes to weighing in at the end of a tournament. And
100%.
it's so simple, and it takes
Yep.
5 seconds. It's just a file. I mean, it's just a
Yes.
because especially when you're on them and you're ripping lips left and right, that hook's getting dollar and dollar every fish, especially in a walleye with a little bit of harder, mouth. And people are just like, they're just biting them, getting them, and then they start to miss them. And I need to add a stinger hook. I need to do this. Maybe you just need to sharpen your damn hook a little bit.
Yeah.
We always will talk ourselves out. I got to give it to them more. I got to feed them more line, or I got to do this. And it's like, nah, man, your hooks, you got 20 fish on that thing. It's getting dull. So excellent tip.
Yep.
Excellent. So, all right, Josh, thanks a ton. I know you're a busy man. You got to get back out there and sell some boats and move some stuff. And maybe I'll swing out to a tournament a day early and get on your schedule and have you re-rig my boat for me. So to give me a little better peace of mind. And we appreciate your time and congratulations for making the Classic. That is awesome. No matter where you land, we always want to land on top, but making it is is half the battle. And that is something to be proud of forever and super cool. Super cool. Can't say I'm disappointed. I'm not going to see you on the walleye trail, but I'm not disappointed. I don't have to worry about you out there. So, it's one of those things. We need the numbers and wish you there, but wish you best of luck this year on those opens, and hopefully you can knock one out and get back to the Classic for a little redemption. So you get there again. you'll make it happen. You'll be in that day 3 for sure. I have no doubt about it. So, and I think it's in Texas next year.
It is,
So,
yeah.
what lake? Fork or?
I'm not even sure.
Probably
what
not.
lake.
It's there's going to be a big bass. It's in Texas, so
I don't even care what lake it's on.
I
It could
don't
be on
care.
a pond for all
It
I
could
care.
be at Bago. I mean, right? We'd love for it to be on Bago, but it'll be awesome. So, all right, folks, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Real Talk Fishing. This is a special episode following up the Classic. This thing's going to probably drop next week, which would be the first week in April, I believe. We'll get this out there. I don't want to keep Josh's excellent experience on the line for long. We want to get that out and share it with you guys all so you can follow him along. And I'll put some links down below. Follow Josh is on the social. Stay up to date. He's been doing some really nice recaps of his tournament. So stay up to date on what he's got going on through the opens. And if you're looking for a job, someone's looking to hire. So reach out to Josh. I'll put the boat dock links down below. Get a hold of him over there and get in the industry. It's a great entry point, way to get in and see where your career goes from there. So thanks a ton, Josh. Thanks everybody for following along and listening, and we will see you on the water.